Let's get to IPO investment in the biblical aspect in regards to IPO investment and how you are given the good and bad quality of an IPO investment as previously discussed in that of the global form, especially towards those that are not Christians. That's the topic that I just spoke of. We're getting into the biblical aspect as to how ODSP can work with those that are Christians in order to continue to give them the funding and give them the same treatment as those that are not Christians with respect and understanding to not use their faith against them in order to cause them harm. Where do we get this from? The book of Job. The book of Job is an IPO investment catalog. And yes, you do get sick while you do business, as Job did, but Job got healthy at the end of dealing with all his IPO investors. And he was able to continue into the book of King of Kings and Songs of Songs in order to continue with his IPO investment with King Solomon and King Isaiah as well as King Joshua. It means Job got healthy right after his battle with King Ezra. So we are here at Job 5 verse 12 where Job is speaking with King Ezra into his business dealings and why his business dealings will no longer be accepted by Job due to the fact that he continues to harm his investors physically, verbally, psychologically, socially, as well as sexually. Job 5 verse 12 says, "He thwarts the plans of the crafty so that their hands achieve no success." Allowing the listening of the brain and mind action to know what's being planned and thought of ahead to deny the destructive plan from continuing to go the way the enemy, which is Ezra at this point, wants the plan to go. So if we're not allowed to listen to future aspects as to what Ezra is planning, we wouldn't know how to get the medication to help Job get better from lupus and leukosis at the time. Lupus still exists in today's world, yes, but leukosis does not exist anymore. I believe Job may have been the last person on planet Earth to catch the disease of leukosis. I believe that's what would have caused Job to be very ill and may have taken 3 years, which is what's now known today as cancer to the brain. And not very many people suffer from cancer to the brain unless you have not been medicated as a child to avoid biliary disease. Biliary disease, which is what causes leukosis disease, which is cancer to the brain. Now, sometimes God will allow the enemy to think that his plans has worked when it hasn't worked at all. God uses the plan of the enemy to protect his very own, so that his very own does not give up or get too comfortable in their own way or skill, which means God uses what the enemy does in order to test us, including myself, to see if my faith would continue to believe in him as Shari's steward in order to not allow this eviction notice that I've gotten falsely to go through in April of 2025. I believe this is God testing me through the craftiness of Melissa Effner as well as Patricia Effner, because I've been there before in 2023. with the Miller family when I called for a partial shutdown because of an eviction notice from the Miller family. Now I'm dealing with the same thing 2 years later from the Ethner family. God strengthens the skill of his own by making them wait for the right time to receive what he wants to have and when God wants them to have these items. Which means anyone that has ever said that I've stolen anything from James Westbrook, the reason why I have my funding and my pay is because James Westbrook is never around when I make the purchases, and he only knows about the purchases that I make because of my haul videos to claim that I've stolen property from him falsely. James Westbrook is never around between the 30th or 31st of the month, and he's never around on the 5th. He's usually in the province of Alberta, and then he comes to the province of Ontario on the 15th. Why is James Westbrook in Alberta when his funding is in Ontario, and he has to sign his ODSP funding in Ontario on the 15th of every month? Why are you in Alberta, James Westbrook? I'm on the same payment plan as you are, which is ODSP. Same payment plan. Yours and mine are attached to the same reason. Sexual assault as a child gave us that ODSP coverage. James Westbrook was sexually assaulted as a child, and so was I. And that's how we both got the coverage of ODSP. That's how we both got it. And from what I understand is that Alberta doesn't support the sexual assault clause in the ODSP plan. So why is James Westbrook in the province of Alberta when the province of Alberta doesn't support the sexual assault clause in the ODSP plan? Why are you there? You're obviously there for a reason, which is to continue to cause harm to me, because they do not cover the sexual assault charges that allow us to be paid for those that have been sexually abused as a child. Alberta is not a province where James Westbrook should be. With that being the case, and being covered under ODSP through to that of sexual assault as a child. God allows the crafty to get the supplies they want and quickly, as it does bring them pain for getting the supplies quickly. But the pain it brings James Westbrook to get those makeup kits is the same pain that he tries to apply to me in order to tell me he's still got it, so I need to stop being a Christian. He still got the supply from in Alberta, but that means he's stolen from Alberta residents without the proper coverage, which means James Westbrook can go to prison for using ODSP funding to buy makeup in Alberta without the proper coverage because they do not support the sexual assault clause charges to get ODS. Which means that's more pain for James Westbrook and less physical pain for me for purchasing in Ontario. As I was saying, God allows the crafty to get the supplies they want and quickly, as it does bring them pain. In the end, for not wanting to wait to receive it in the right way. the right and exact way and at the correct time, especially with the correct ingredients, in order to say that you can get the products made without makeup because you're allergic to makeup, as in peanuts, Tati Westbrook. You're allergic to peanuts, as the entire world has now heard you say, and you're using from makeup from Alberta and Ontario made with peanuts. If you were to go to British Columbia and get it, you would have gotten the same thing, but made with tallow instead of peanuts. Sometimes the early bird worm does not always get the best worm in the batch. Because now you've used makeup that has peanuts that's not approved or covered for you to purchase under your ODSP plan in Alberta, and you've had an allergic reaction to the peanuts, and now you need an EpiPen using makeup made with peanuts. James and Tati Westbrook. And that's why I deserve a garbage can thrown in my face today, because you have to use an EpiPen, because you spent Ontario funding in a province that doesn't support why you get Ontario funding in the first place. Do you see how that IPO investment globally and Joe 5 makes connectable sense in the form of health reform, James Westbrook? In that of health reform, Ontario does not have to charge Alberta for James Westbrook's action, because he has used it to verbally assault Cherie Stewart and her family with an EpiPen that says he's going to throw a garbage bag in her face and cause her false eviction 2 times, one in 2023 when he did it back then, as well as now, 2 years later, 2025. With that being said, my name is Cherie Stewart, reporting IPO investment for Bible Facts and Business. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye. And I'm here currently at 270 Alton Towers, Tim Hortons location, 2025, at the time of 12:45 p.m. Bye-bye.